Thank you, friends from the Wharton India Economic Forum. I believe it's your 27th edition, and I compliment you for keeping the fire alive and keeping the dialogue between students of Wharton and India ongoing for so many years. I think the last 8 years particularly, and then if we go back the last 30 years, India has been evolving. A lot of structural changes that took place in the last 8 years have had a significant impact on the way the Indian economy is poised to take off in the next 25 years. To name a few, I think GST, getting the whole nation onto one tax structure. And if I remember correctly, at that time there were about 30 odd different taxes and cesses which a person had to struggle with and had to have full knowledge of to be able to pay his indirect taxes right. So GST I would count as one of the important reform measures that has impacted the economy. And if you're seeing the recent numbers of GST collection, they are very robust despite the emerging global scenario. And a lot of measures have been put in to move the economy towards a more honest economy. So people are now getting used to paying their taxes, something which is very important if we want to be a developed world economy. Another important aspect has been the IBC, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Over the years, people were very concerned that in India, if you had to close any enterprise or if anybody, for a variety of reasons, didn't do well, there was very little way for him to wind up quickly or to be able to sort out their issues. I think the IBC code has also helped banks significantly. And today we have one of the most robust banking systems that is comparable to anywhere in the developed world. In fact, there are concerns about the banking system of some of our neighbors, and I'm referring to my unfriendly neighbor in the north, about the banking system in other countries. So I think to that extent, India's IBC has helped us in getting our banking system in place to be able to again be a solid lending behemoth. We have a number of banks, Indian, foreign, all working in India. Collectively, they're able to now provide the necessary resources for industry to grow, for consumption to grow, infrastructure to grow. And I would think the connect between fiscal policy and monetary policy, which has now become more aligned than it ever was before. I would think these are the three important big ticket reform measures that have held us in good stead in the last few years, and I think will continue to impact India's growth story in the coming years. I can speak about a lot of other reforms. We've been doing a lot of reforms on the telecom sector, on let's say privatization or getting government out of business in several sectors, in areas like create digitization of the whole Indian economy, particularly the financial sector. We have looked at a number of measures for decriminalization of laws or simplification of several laws or compliances which can make it easier to do business. So it's of course a long list, but I think all in all, it has helped us to prepare the nation for the next 25 years, where we hope to see India emerging as a developed economy, positively amongst the top three in the world.
Thank you, Minister. Our audience today includes several leaders of business houses and investing firms. What would you like to see from the private sector to enable the $5 trillion economy? Which sectors are strategic priorities?
Government will not be micromanaging any of the businesses to decide where they should invest. But there are two or three significant areas which straight away come to mind if we have to become a developed world economy. First of all, infrastructure. I'm sure many of you may have noted that Prime Minister Modi has been very focused in building a robust infrastructure in India. So our capex, even from the government side, has almost tripled in the last 8 years. Going forward, I think in the next few years, this is going to multiply manyfold. And the private sector is not far behind. They are also contributing and participating in the great infrastructure story. And overall, we have projects in the pipeline which aggregate to nearly $1.4 trillion, which are many of which are ongoing, many of which are on the drawing board at different stages of development. Also, if one was to look at certain very critical sectors for the Indian economy, for example, semiconductor. It's one area where we are very concerned that we'll have to look at self-reliance or look at being less dependent on certain geographies which have been proven to be untrustworthy or unreliable partners in supply chains.